So, how are you all doing? We're now, what, 2/3 of the way through the semester? Everybody getting enough sleep? It's my main concern with my kids. So, I hope it's going well and you're having a great time. In the fall, when we don't have fires, it's an absolutely gorgeous time of year, and it's really pleasant to be here in California. So, before we got started, you're in the middle of choosing your spring semester boot camp courses. Where are we now? Beth's over here. Where's Claire? Claire? Right there. Okay. And just some thoughts there. The finance and accounting, if you're in fintech, strongly discourage you from taking the finance and accounting if you're in fintech. You will probably be disappointed. And so please don't take it. We're gearing it more this year towards the less advanced students. It is probably not going to be terribly useful to you in your fintech career. Indeed, you probably will have seen most of it ahead of time. And so if you want to go in and tutor all your friends and help them learn, that's great. But don't go in, if you go into it, please don't expect a high-powered 10-day whirlwind tour of modern finance. It's going to be very basic and not intended to be a really advanced course. So, and marketing and accounting is. Do you want comments about any of the courses or?
Does anyone have questions?
Questions on the courses? Yeah.
If you're looking to maybe go into starting a business, which leadership courses would you recommend taking?
So Naeem teaches. Naeem and does Beal also teach? Go ahead.
Naeem and Ron. Is this on? Naeem and Ron Starr are teaching entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial finance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's an obvious one.
Yeah. Am I allowed to?
I'd say
gratuitously
your
plug
Glee's
my
class.
courses? Yeah. So there's still space in the 9 a.m. course. So my course used to be called Tech Strategy, and as Beth said, I took a hit on my enrollment this year because it no longer is called Tech Strategy. But it's about platform strategy, and it's about startups in platform space. How do you get a Google or an Airbnb started, and the network dynamics that kick in. And so from that respect, we'll be talking a lot about those firms in their early stages, and so that's helpful. And those are the world-crushing firms right now. It's the firms that are using network dynamics. Google, Amazon, Uber maybe not so much recently, but Airbnb, those sorts of firms. So if you're curious about that particular space, and if you can make those work, they're great. You can be a rich person, but not so much. And we've been talking about Tesla, but again, it's more as an established firm now, so not as a startup it was 5-10 years ago. So I think there's also a bunch of other stuff happening on campus. And a lot of times, if I can plug the program here, people sometimes I want to be an entrepreneur, but this is all about leadership. You've heard, we've told them many times, we've had 7 30 under 30 Forbes and Inc. winners. It's like the best program in the world if you want that award for people who've been successful entrepreneurs and seen. So what you're learning in general is really, really good to be an entrepreneur. So don't feel like, just since you're not doing a business plan contest or you're not in a course called entrepreneurship, that you're going to be missing out. Any other questions? Just questions in general, since we're sort of all here. Yeah? Oh, sorry.
So just a quick comment. I don't know if, I'm pretty sure somebody might have already mentioned this, but just in terms of our classes, Data X and 242 in this spring are overlapped.
Mm-hmm.
And it's me and a lot of others would like to take both, but we can't.
Mm-hmm.
Because half an hour overlap. I don't know if you've known about this or if folks have.
So should we
said anything.
actually, what we ought to try to do is actually move the classes by a half hour. That doesn't make sense. So can you drop Heather a note and ask her about moving the courses?
So IUR is aware that they have some issues in their spring schedule, and they're working on them.
Okay. We should try to move that.
Right. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I taught 242. I can tell you about that course, but I don't know much about the other one. So, anything else? Yeah?
Will we be able to plug our laptops in during the exam? exam?
Not generally.
I know everyone's worried about power during the exam. So a couple things just to allay your fears. One, I'd say 80% of students finish the exam in between 2 and 3 hours. Two, so we're going to be in VLSB. So, there will be, I don't think there's power in like every seat in these lecture halls, but like, here there's going to be limited power. We'll bring extension cords. So if like you're uploading your exam and you're about to lose power, like come and plug into an extension cord. So we won't, we have, that's our plan. So hopefully the majority of people, their laptops will last for 3 or 4 hours. But if you're someone who's not, we're going to bring extension cords. So bring your power just in case.
What about a power strip? Can we bring a couple power strips? I don't want to blow out the circuits, but
we won't have power for everybody, but we won't let you lose power.
Okay, cool.
Can I
I'm
miss
actually asking for a friend who asked me to ask and said that like her laptop will die right away if it's not plugged in, and she was wondering if there were like alternatives or like there were laptops that available.
There's a laptop lending program, but I've heard that a lot of them are checked out. But like we'll take care of her. Like if she talks to Claire or I, we'll make sure she sits somewhere where she can reach an extension cord and power. We just can't promise that for 500 students.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But
get
for
there early,
people
okay?
who talk to us,
You got to get there.
we'll help you out for sure. We don't want anyone to, we're going to enable you to take the exam, right?
All set? Okay, so the leadership comp exam. We want you to pass this, and you can all pass this. Let's just start there. So this is not intended to kill you. It's intended to be a very straightforward, no curveball approach, and that's why we've given you the entire template you're going to see. And we haven't given you the topic of the exam or the reading material, but we can step through here. It's very similar to Tesla. Tesla was last year's exam. We're getting a little better each year. We're refining our questions and the exam, but it's very, very straightforward. It's modeled as an argumentative essay, the essay that you were taught to write in middle school, where you've got sort of a thesis statement, and then you've got your points, and you bring in your evidence to support your points. What we really want to see here is that you can read these articles, you can take out the evidence from that article, and you can use that to formulate an argument. That's it. And other than that, this is all just sort of details. When you walk in the room, Claire will hand you, perhaps not personally, but Claire and her team will hand you some stapled papers or some stapled articles. They will all have a line number, and that will be the topic. It'll be very similar to Tesla in that respect. It'll be a little different from Tesla in that, in our discussion of Tesla, a lot of that was about how the company made press conferences and how the company communicated with all their external stakeholders. There will be some of that in this exam, but not as much. What I think is more interesting, and as I pulled the articles together, these articles give you a more of a Theranos glimpse, a Theranos type glimpse. Remember our Theranos case from fall boot camp? Give you more of a glimpse into inside the firm. And I think that was pretty interesting. And so you can actually speak more deeply to some of the other questions on leadership. And you can answer a question, don't think you have to answer it in 7 Tesla-like answers about external stakeholders. You can think about your internal processes and bring your understanding that you got from the negotiations and the organizational behavior that we learned. And that's also a great pasture for you to discuss in your exam answers. So it's about the same amount of reading as the 3 Tesla articles. We've set up the citation nomenclature to be very simple and straightforward, so you don't have to spend much time doing it, and the people that grade it don't have to spend much time grading you. We are going to be stuffing this through Turnitin. And we do take plagiarism and cheating just phenomenally seriously. So please don't make us question. Don't even go in a direction that we could question you in this respect. So just think about how you're carrying yourself and how you're doing your exam, and be aware that we don't want to be in a position to be questioning you and your integrity. So, any questions so far? Am I missing anything? The intro. I'm just going to like step through line by line the template now. Am I missing anything? Are we good? Okay. All right. So yeah, but the 4 hours, as Beth said, most of you will finish it much sooner. One thing that I would really appreciate is that if you are one of the more thorough people and you're going to be there a bit longer, it's really annoying to have people constantly leaving. And so I think we're going to try to bunch the leaving, and so not leave until a certain time, and then a bunch of people can leave all at once, and then everybody else has a block of time when they're not going to be having people like pushing through in the seats and such. So bring some extra reading to do after your exam for a few minutes until we sort of do the batch departures. So you can't talk to anybody on the exam during the exam. You can't access the internet during the exam except to download your answers. This did result. We had a problem a couple years back, and it did result to many referrals to the Office of Student Conduct. Turn off your computer's access to Wi-Fi. Turn it back on when you're ready to put the exam in. So the only references you have to cite are the ones we will give you. Nothing else needs to be cited explicitly. You can pull an idea from boot camp. You can pull an idea from any great business guru you like, and you don't have to cite it in this exam. In real life, please do. But in this exam, the only thing you have to cite and cite properly are the articles we will give you. They're going to be, as I said, Claire and her team will hand them out. Claire and her team have put, or actually it was Claire, every line in those articles, starting from line 1 all the way through the end of it, will be numbered. And you should use those numbers when you're referring to where in that article you are pulling the evidence from. So you just can't make a blanket statement to an article. There's going to be 7 questions we're going to ask you, and then an executive summary, sort of a thesis paragraph, summary paragraph. In that executive summary, in that thesis paragraph, you don't need to do any references. So you'll want to make a summary statement. For example, Tesla exhibited poor ethical leadership in how they communicated with external stakeholders. However, they did work in their area of competence. Period. Tesla exhibited good organizational leadership because of blah, 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 blah. In that thesis paragraph and summary statement, which I'll show you below, you do not have to put in references. In every single other, the 7 other question boxes, you do have to put in references. Okay, so the exam, it's 7 questions and the executive summary. I'm just going to show you this template here. So see these boxes. This is what we're going to be talking about shortly. And there is a executive summary box. I would personally suggest you write this last and then go do each of these first. Because once you've written these, then you just do a summary and you're done and you're out of there. So, okay, so the exam consists of 7 questions and an executive summary. We'll give you this template. Every one of your answers, except the executive summary, needs to reference an article included in the reading packet. Again, we're trying to get you to back up your argument with evidence. The same thing we've been beating into you ever since boot camp. So these are Alex's words, and they're very good words. There's 2 ways you can reference articles. You can paraphrase the author and describe what he or she or they said, or you can quote authors verbatim, actual strings of words. When you quote specific strings of words, if there's more than 3, please put quotation marks around them and then reference. And if the article's author is a single author, if there's one author of the article, put that author's name, such as Musk, and then the line number, which Claire has gracefully put in the paper next to you, next to that where you want to use it from. And if there's multiple, then just say Feng et al. And then the line number. If you're off by a line number or 2, we're not going to worry about it. We just want to, rather than making a blanket statement to a 600-line article or however many lines it is, we're going to ask you where in that article are you pulling that evidence from. If you blow it once, we'll mark you down for that question. If you blow it consistently and don't do this right, we'll ask you to retake the exam. And you don't need to answer all the questions in order. In fact, I would, since you've seen this now, you're going to know the 7 questions you have. You've got the paper. I would just read through and say, oh, there's an answer to the truthful question. There's an answer to the competence question. And then once you've read through it and made these notes, you can go back and you just say, oh, that was the best one for scoping a problem. I'm going to use that one and do it. And then you write up your summary when you're all done. We've tried to work on this template as best we can. I don't think there'll be any changes between now and when you take the exam, but please look through these directions before you start. And another thing, this is not meant to be get you a Pulitzer Prize. Some of you are phenomenally good writers. This is not the time to demonstrate that. You're going to get no credit for it. If you try to do something really creative and go off template, we're not going to be able to get credit for it. And last year, some people failed who were phenomenally good writers because they were trying to be creative. We have to design a process for 500 people here. And so save that skill for your capstone report and other wonderful things you can write. And you know, spend those hours doing something else, enjoying the sun or going to the football game or whatever. So, okay, these are sort of more basic things. Charge your laptop, borrow a laptop. You can access your laptop, obviously, because you're going to be writing on it, but not the internet. So anything you want to have on that laptop should be on the laptop physically on that hard drive before you walk in the room. You're not going to you should not be accessing the internet. And again, here's a situation where, oh shoot, I just wanted to get the Biogen case. Don't make us question you, okay? Don't get on the internet to pull that down. Think it through and have that stuff available ahead of time. Download your study notes. You can bring in physical things. We used to have dictionaries this thick. Bring that if you want. As far as the quality of the writing, I've asked the graders if they have to reread your answer more than 3 or 4 times and they still can't get it, then they can mark you down for the quality of your writing. We're not going to ding you for an occasional typo or an occasional bad grammar. So this is not meant to test your ability in the English language. However, you do have to be able to communicate effectively in English. Does that make sense? I mean, we're trying to be very reasonable here. So I know many of you, for many of you, English is a second language. You have to be able to communicate effectively in English, and that's all. So dictionaries, okay. Anything that can access the internet, which that list of devices seems to grow each year, you can't use during the exam. You can't talk to anybody during the exam. However, just as with boot camp and case studies, getting ready for the exam, I would strongly encourage you to get together and grab a pizza and your cases from the fall leadership boot camp. And so what was the main idea of this case? Well, I thought it was blah, blah, blah. I thought it was da-da-da. Nice way to go back and jog your memory. And I would think a couple hours spent that way would be useful just to deepen your learning from boot camp, and that would be the way to prepare for this exam. And you could also go back to your Tesla case and see how that was structured, and remember how that discussion went. In my classes, when we taught Tesla, we actually asked, after we had arguments for and against the points, I actually asked people to say, well, so who changed their mind and why and which argument, whose argument made you change your mind? And they could pick out different people and say, her argument based on the statistics evidence that she brought changed my mind. That's the sort of stuff you want to have in this exam. You want to be able to have the evidence which is most convincing for each point. Okay, I want you to study for this exam and be prepared for it, but I don't want you to freak out. If you fail, there will be a second opportunity to pass, and we will be making every effort to give you the support you need to pass this exam. So, questions? Thoughts?
Just confirm the citation, because normally for just a simple question. For the citation, normally for multiple writers, we cite the first one. But this, it says that we cite the last writer. Just scroll up.
I'm sorry, one more time.
The citation.
This is citation, yeah.
Citation.
When there's multiple authors, either case, if there's a single author or multiple authors, just cite the first one, the last name of the first author, and if there are
It's
multiple.
specified that we cite the last name, last writer, something.
Yeah, I see the confusion.
Okay, are you editing? You
Yeah.
got it? Okay, so
And we
I
need to
don't
cite the
understand
full
the
name,
question.
right?
yeah, I don't understand the question.
So I see the confusing wording. We will edit it. But indeed, if there are multiple authors on a particular article, for instance, Fleming, Hoke, Belayev, you would just cite Fleming.
That's one convention, yeah. And in this case, we're asking you to say Fleming et al.
Yeah.
If I'm the first author, if Beth
Fleming
is the
et
first
al.
author, you would
Yep.
say Levin et al.
So you would just cite the first author.
Yes.
I see the problem in the directions. We'll remedy it.
And I think the most important thing is that you cite every time you paraphrase or quote.
Right, except the executive
Right.
summary. In
Well,
the
every
7
time you paraphrase and quote, you have to cite.
Except in the executive summary. Yes, I would agree, yeah. If you paraphrase or quote in the executive, I don't want the executive summary to turn into
So you,
12 or 15.
but if there was a quote in the executive summary, would I cite it? You just don't want paraphrasing and quoting in the executive summary.
Okay, how about this? If you quote in the executive summary, please put in a citation. I'm not, the executive summary is not so much the evidence. It's giving the person the overall direction of your arguments. And that's why I don't want you to get tied down with things. However, if you do use more than 3 words, thank you, Beth, please put in a citation. I don't think you need to for the executive summary, although sometimes people can make really pithy, effective statements, and maybe that would be very useful in an executive summary. So, does that help? Are we okay? You're going to fix the prose, Alex?
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, so the executive summary, this is in many ways your opening statement. And I would simply say yay or nay. You've got 2 different sets of arguments here. One is around 3 ethical, and there's other around 4 organizational and leadership. And you could split those 2 apart and say Tesla illustrated, good ethical leadership. However, their organizational leadership was quite poor. And then you'd want to actually hit the 3 points. On the ethics, maybe a paraphrase or a clause or a brief sentence for each of those 3 points, and then a clause or a brief sentence for each of the 4 other points. So, any questions? Okay. 250 words for this one. I guess you got to put your student ID. If there's a question, please let me know. Okay. Student ID every time. And then it's just 7 points here. Safety, competence, truthful. These are your ethical issues. Did Tesla hold paramount the safety, health, and welfare of the public? So for example, you could have argued this both. All these points, you can argue both ways. And you're not going to be graded on whether you're right or wrong. You're going to be graded on, did you make a clear argument, and did you back it up with evidence? So you could argue in this case that Tesla did hold their safety paramount because if you put the Tesla on auto drive, you were less likely to get in an accident than if you drove it yourself. So they were holding it. On the other hand, you could say Tesla did not have proper safeguards for drivers falling asleep. Therefore, they did not hold the safety paramount. And you'd want to cite where in the article which line number that had been. We good? All set? We're almost done here. So, and then moving on to did Tesla scope the problem? Did they identify this problem, or sort of lead a team to identify a problem or an opportunity, articulate a vision. And these are written in very generic ways to look at managerial and leadership challenges. Did they generate a good solution to the problem? We're working with the right team. Did they include the stakeholders that matter, and did they convince them that the proposed solution was a good one? So my favorite example of this is Biogen. So remember how when we discussed Biogen in the fall boot camp, the CEO had to, each of you got up and played the CEO, and you had to argue for this is what we're going to do, and was he or she effective in convincing everybody to get on board? And at least in my classes, it's always an entertaining simulation. So, and finally, include and execute. Did Tesla actually, did their proposed solution, did they actually make it work? Again, you could say, yeah, they made it work because they had fewer accidents as they went forward. You could say, no, they didn't make it work because they still had accidents as they go forward, and then just cite the line. So that's all I had to say. Anybody else from the MEng team say anything? Yeah?
Let's mic you so we can hear it on the recording. Thanks.
I see student ID at each question, so we need to copy paste it for every question?
I guess so. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, so it's you're writing short answers rather than an essay.
Although
so you're gonna use. So we're gonna give you a template. We're gonna give you like a Word doc template, and so you can just write your answers directly in that, and then you're gonna upload that whole one document into B courses, and that's what's going through Turnitin as well.
We're obviously processing this automatically 500 times, and so that's why you have to collect your answer with your name, and maybe some more sophisticated programming next year to avoid this. But for this year, please put in your word.
Sorry, so is it going to be read or graded as an essay or as 7 different questions?
It will be broken down to the 7 questions plus the summary. You will be graded on your summary. Each question will be, approximately the same amount of credit, and the summary will be twice or 3 times the amount of a regular question.
Okay, and finally, I guess we can reference more than one article.
Yes, absolutely.
Per question, right? Okay.
That's great.
Thank you.
There's no extra credit, though. I know you're a bunch of gunners, but there's no extra credit.
Can you pass this mic all the way down there?
So I actually have 2 questions. My first question is, are we allowed to make multiple submissions in case we feel like we submitted something and then we have more time to edit our answers?
So I would say that
that might cause a lot of problems.
well, with the exception is when you're looking at your Turnitin report, if you realize that you have some citation errors, then you can make corrections and upload it again. So multiple submissions are allowed to make corrections. What we don't want to see is you finish in an hour and a half, you upload it, you're like ready to go, you leave, you come back, and you're like, no, I had this other brilliant idea. I'm going to finish it, had another hour, and then upload it. Like, we're not going to let you do that. So it's just a sort of a spirit of trust and honesty where multiple uploads would be like, I uploaded and I just saw that I misspelled a word, or I uploaded and I just saw that I forgot a citation, or I saw my Turnitin report and I need to correct some citations. So uploads within a reasonable period of each other to make corrections, but not like, multiple iterations that are far apart from each other.
Let me make a simpler version of that. If you do your Turnitin analysis and it looks like oops, then I would fix it. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. This is really not intended to, it's intended to have you pass. And so small little things are not going to make or break this exam. If they are, then we have the second exam. So, but for Turnitin, if you upload it and like Turnitin it goes, oh, oops, yeah, I missed something there, then yeah, go back and fix that and then we're good. So
I
So-
also wanted to know, sorry.
To just piggyback on this, you are allowed to make multiple submissions. Every time you make a submission, it is logged. So if there is a time gap, we see it. If there is a dramatic difference between the first submission and the second submission, we see it. Both of these issues are important because part of our job here is to ensure academic integrity. I don't think that your question had anything to do with
I
that.
think we can also see that we can actually run the first document through, turn it in, and say, "Oops, she fixed it. We're all set." And so, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the other question I had was, so I was in your section and we had to turn in the Tesla assignment. Could we get some feedback on that so we know how we could improve?
Could we do that in the writing class? Is that possible?
I think that right now, given the short turnaround time, that may be difficult. If you have office hours with the GSI, with the instructor, I would most certainly encourage you to do that. If I can help in any way, I'm always happy to. I think I took a look at the submissions. Lee took a look at the submissions. I think one point of difference to note is that we're asking for a very specific citation style in this case, and this is a format that is not an essay. It is something in between an essay and a long answer, so your answers here do need to stand by themselves, and each of them needs to show evidence of the fact that you referred to a source. So these are some points of difference that you may, of course, benefit from feedback, but the bootcamp assignment, the formatting is a bit different.
Yeah. But exactly, and we were in the same section. I just kept hammering on, so what's your good argument, clean, make it clear, and then why, and what exhibit, and where did you get that from the material? So it's the exact same thing we spent 2 weeks doing in the fall.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take the mic back. Any other questions?
We got a couple of there.
Who's first?
We don't have enough time here, I guess.
Is the article that we're going to be getting, or the articles, are those going to be like from the boot camp class readings, or is it going to be something new?
Yeah, something new.
Something new.
Something new, yeah.
Who's next?
I was going to ask how many articles will be given and how long each
Between
one
2 to
will-
4. Between 2 and 4 articles, and approximately the same length as the Tesla readings. So.
Can you please pass this down?
Just with regard to the citations, not the in-text, but are we expected to format the citations like an MLA or Chicago style? No. So it's just in-text?
It's just the idea.
Okay.
Giving credit where it's due.
Very good.
Can I tell them how I felt the? No, I won't tell. We discussed doing these style things, and I couldn't pass all the tests on the nitty gritty of the style things. And we can all do that. It's the idea. It's the integrity of making sure that you give credit where it's due. So that's the idea.
Is the grading going to be similar to the Tesla assignment, like 1 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 3 out of 3, sort of?
No.
Okay.
Each will be graded individually by the same person, and then they'll be totaled up.
Yeah, it is a pass-fail exam.
Yeah. No, there's no bonus for extra credit. So, if you're strong in these concepts and a strong communicator, you should get the exam done and go for a jog in the hills, go watch the football game. Don't spend all 4 hours. It's really not meant to take your entire afternoon if you're ready for it and you're a strong communicator. So.
The USC game is not till 8 p.m. So take your time, but time for a nap in between.
So.
Another question?
And you've got a lot of other classes too. and they're hard, and I want you to do well in those. So don't overdo getting ready for this.
So is the template going to be like a Word document that we can like, and we can save it and then submit it?
Not my job, but I think so.
Yes.
No.
Yes. So we will. So this is, obviously draft, just in case, we're still editing just for clarity. But these 7 questions in the summary will not change.
I hope not.
But so we'll give you a Word doc that you can download in advance. So we'll give it to you at least the night before. And then you can, your answers will go in the text box. You can pre-populate your student ID. And then you'll have all these, basically the final version of the instructions, the final version of this template. You'll be working in the Word doc on that template or whatever program you want to use, and then that's the document you will upload to B Courses for the assignment. And you will get a Turnitin report when you upload it. And so could say something about the Turnitin scores at this point. So Turnitin is really a great tool for you as a student to make sure that you're citing properly. But what you may have noticed from your other classes is you can get a high Turnitin score when you cite properly, because what Turnitin is doing is matching text to text. It doesn't know whether you've cited properly or not. So it's not, if you could get a green Turnitin score but have forgotten to cite things a few times, or you could have a high Turnitin score and cited properly the whole time. But what's important is when you open up the report, it highlights what should be cited, right? Because it highlights duplicated text. So what you're doing in the report, it doesn't matter if you have a green or a red, right? You're looking at your report and saying, like, everything that is showing up as duplicated text, I have cited. And then you're done. But then maybe that's the moment when you're like, okay, I need to correct these 2. You correct them and you upload it again. So the one thing though I also want to warn you is that Turnitin could take up to 10 minutes to do a report. So just know that, factor that into your timing. Anything else you want to say on that, Alex?
I cannot emphasize enough that the similarity score does not communicate anything, because it is possible to have a 0 match, you get your green light, and there is academic misconduct because you paraphrased, but you didn't cite. And when you paraphrase without citation, that is plagiarism. So the usefulness of Turnitin is the fact that it is another backup system, another tool that you can use to just make sure that you've done as well as you can. I think that this bit is less significant for the exam. It is really significant for all of the assignments that go through Turnitin, whether at Fung or at your other classes. Always look at the report. There is no way, unfortunately, for us to disable the similarity score, but that is really poor design, because it provides either a sense of alarm or a sense of security that does not correspond to the actual material.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I don't have Microsoft Word installed in my laptop. Can I open it in Google Doc and then later turn on the Wi-Fi just to download it and submit it and turn it in?
Do you have any desktop word processing? Because you can't be on the internet during the exam. So as long as you're not on the internet during the exam.
Okay.
Yeah, will that thing work with the internet off? I don't know.
Oh, Google Doc can work with the internet off.
If you're in a plane, it works?
Okay.
I guess I have a question based on the Turnitin score. Now you said it would take 10 minutes for the score to generate. Does that mean we can be online for 10 minutes? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so it can take up to 10 minutes for a Turnitin score to crunch. So at that point, you're already online, right? Because so basically you're online to download the template, to download the instructions. If you haven't done that already, you can do that before you arrive. You turn off the internet, you write your exam, you turn on the internet to upload your exam, and then you're on it while the Turnitin score is happening. You're on it to upload your exam. So you're at that phase, the turning in phase. You're obviously online turning it in. Let's say you realize that you've made some errors and you want to the etiquette would be turn off the internet, fix your errors, turn it on, resubmit it. So obviously you are online when you're submitting the exam, and when the Turnitin magic Wizard of Oz thing is happening. But yes, again, this is, we will be walking around making sure people are not on the internet, but I don't think, it'd be very useful for you to be on the internet in this exam.
We've tried to write the exam so that it's both interesting for you to do, but also very difficult. These questions really aren't out there, and the answers to these questions. So I guess the thing we'd be very, very upset about is if you're communicating with somebody else during that time. And
yeah, I mean, that's really what we're trying to prevent, is just that accidentally getting IMs or accidentally talking to somebody or communicating with somebody about the exam intentionally or unintentionally, and this just gives everyone a little
don't trade responses about the exam while you're waiting. Oh, that was easy, or man, that question. Please don't do that, because just you're smart. You guys can figure that, or you all can figure this out, don't you?
If you go to software.berkeley.edu, you can download Microsoft Word for free.
That was actually, I was going to say that.
There's not software, but
Software.berkeley.edu, download Word. Yes, thank you, for free. Thank you. Or go directly to download Word and enter your Berkeley ID, and that will be free as well. So that's a great resource. Thank you.
I was just going to say the same thing, but I recommend downloading the entire Office suite because it's free. It comes with PowerPoint, Word, and access.
We have a Microsoft representative in the audience.
Very useful. Highly recommended.
We good? All right. I hope it's any more questions? No? Okay. Okay, go ahead. What's your question?
I'm pretty sure the answer for this is going to be no, but I was going to ask anyway. If for some reason we are in a position in the classroom where the Wi-Fi doesn't work, can we turn on our hotspots on our phones just to submit?
Why don't you ask us first, and we'll try.
If it like I said, with the power and everything, we will help. We will make sure you turn in your exam. Like, come see us. It will happen. We won't fail you for not having internet. Like, it's our responsibility to make sure the infrastructure is there for you to take and turn in your exam.
I hope it's a fun exam. I enjoyed putting it together. So good luck. Good luck on everything else this semester.
Thanks, everybody. Woo-woo.
Well, it's about